Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Miles High Club podcast. I'm your host, Miles. This is episode number 61. Oh, what a past week it's been. We had snow for like 6 hours. Well, here in Birmingham in England, we had snow for all of what felt like 6 hours. I woke up, saw everything was covered in snow. I was ready to cancel plans with friends. By 3 o'clock, the roads were clear. By about 6 o'clock, you could have looked in some parts and never would have guessed it would have snowed. It was just cold. It was just cold. We haven't seen snow since. Apparently, we're going to get a white Christmas. I'll be inside anyway. I'll be literally my countdown has started. Is it next week? It's either next week. No, it's not next week. So I've got 6 more days left at work. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. I've booked Thursday and Friday off for like the last 4 or 5 weeks of the year. And then I've got the last 2 weeks of the year off. So I'm just counting on these 6 days. And then that's me done for 2021. But enough about me. How is everyone out there? I hope everyone is well. I hope you're all doing okay. I hope you're all avoiding or have avoided the Megatron virus, the Optimus Prime, the Bumblebee, the whatever this flipping... What's it called? Omicron? Omicron? I don't know who makes up the names of any of these things, but basically, that's where we are. So let's just jump straight into that first topic because it's everywhere you look. Everywhere you look, the Omicron, the Omicron variant is around. So it's a new variant from South Africa. UK cases are rising to the point where we are now in what the government have called Plan B, which is we've gone back to wearing masks in shops again. So I think like this time last week, I think you only had to wear a mask if you were entering like a hospital or if it was public transport in London. Now it's nationwide. Whenever you enter any kind of shop, hospitality, essential, non-essential shops, you've got to wear a mask. Public transport, everywhere, you've got to wear a mask. I now need to go mask shopping again because I threw all my masks away. As soon as that last lockdown finished and it felt like things were slowly going back to normal, everyone out there was getting vaccinations, I was like, oh, no more masks, got rid of them. And now here we are, nearly 2 years. But we're closer to it being 2 years since it first happened than we are to it being 1 year. Because it was March, and we're in December now. So what? In 3 months' time, it would have been a 2-year pandemic. Well, they call it whatever we're calling it, a 2 year. Omni 2 years to 2 oms. I don't know what to call it, but it's been 2 years. Okay. Oh, Austria have gone back into full lockdown. Germany have gone back into a full lockdown. So, as of yesterday, the return of strict restrictions for unvaccinated people, banning them from non-essential shops, restaurants, and places of culture or leisure has taken place in Germany. They've also agreed a law on mandatory jabs that could come into effect from February after it's debated in German parliament. So currently right now in Germany, if you're unvaccinated, you have to stay home. Does it say essential shops? You have to stay home. If you leave the house, it's only to go to an essential shop and do essential shopping. How they're going to keep an eye on all of this, I don't know. Maybe vaccine passports are going to come back into it or some sort of chip. But there we are, guys. That is what's currently happening with the Omicron. We're wearing masks. Germany are looking to push something through so that by February it's going to be mandatory over there for you to get a jab as well. It's fucking ridiculous. There's up to a 10 grand fine over here in the UK if you're caught without wearing a mask. And another one of my issues that I've just realised is the way they date things. Like if something is so bad, why does it get given a date? For example, if you're wondering, if these variants are so bad as they're making it out to be, why do they say, oh, there's a new variant, so from the 16th of whenever, you can't do this? Like, bitch, announce it now. Announce it now. Literally, well, I say that this has affected two people that I know. Probably in a better way. So I've got one guy that I work with. He's from Australia, but he's living over in the UK. He wanted to go back to Australia for a month, I think it was, to see family over the holidays. the Omicron variant, whatever this new variant is, this new variant got announced, and he's now he's now had to change his flight. So instead of leaving next week, he's leaving this week, Saturday. So fingers crossed, all good luck to him that he makes it over there. But he's flying back to Australia because at the minute, it doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or not. If you land in Australia, I think you've got to self-isolate for 72 hours. If you've got the Delta variant, you have to self-isolate for 2 weeks. Or if you've got something, you have to self-isolate for 2 weeks. But he's just worried that if he leaves it any longer, Australia might just lock off their borders full stop. So they might just shut their borders regardless and say no one else is coming in. No one else, well, you can leave, but you ain't coming in until we've got this settled. So he's like, not risking it. And another one is my boy, who has personally been attacked by COVID and Brexit since I'd say March last year. Since it started, it's either been COVID kicking his ass or Brexit kicking his ass. He hasn't caught COVID as far as I'm aware. But in the latest story, I think the Omicron variant got announced and he was like, fuck this, I do not want to be in this. Like, he doesn't want to be in this country. He wouldn't be in this country right now if it wasn't for COVID. I spoke about it before. You've heard me talk about it before. He was in Australia, came home for 4 weeks. COVID hit. He was stuck here for the rest of the year. Then he went to Switzerland at the end of the year and had to try and beat the New Year's because of the Brexit and the whole EU thing. And then he couldn't get his visa extended, began being a UK citizen over there. He had to come back over here and try and sort it. So all that was long. This variant dropped and he was like, fuck, this variant dropped. He was like, look, I wanted to go somewhere. I've just booked a flight. So he was planning to leave the country again, but he was in a rush, but he wasn't in a rush, if that makes sort of sense. This new variant came, places around Europe started shutting their doors, and he was like, right, I've booked a flight because I'm not risking this thing to take off even more, and then I get stuck in England again. He's like, if I get stuck, I don't want to be stuck in England. I want to be stuck somewhere else. I was like, fair play. So he booked a flight. I'm not going to say his name. I don't know if authorities listen to this podcast or if he can get in any trouble, but just in case, won't say his name or where he's traveling to. But he booked a flight to go out on the 1st of December. Then he was flying into Spain to go somewhere else. And then the Spanish authorities, I think it was last week, the Spanish authorities were like, due to the Omicron variant, if you are not double vaccinated, you can no longer enter Spain from the 1st of December. He was due to fly out on the 1st of December. So he was like, oh, well, change my flight. So we changed his flight to the day before. It's crazy how these things work. Changed his flight to the day before, made it into Spain. He's made it into the country where he needs to go now. So he's good there. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everyone pray for him to hopefully get a work visa so he can stay out there. I think he said if he gets a work visa, he can stay out there till May. Otherwise, it's only going to be a 90-day visa, and then they've got to go and think about somewhere else where they can live. I'm telling you, this whole thing has just been a bunch of shit, and I can't wait for the documentaries. I really can't wait to see the documentaries and everything, and post-COVID life. Another thing, did I write it down? Yeah, I wrote it down. I've literally written one sentence. I didn't realise this was happening, and I didn't realise it was like a thing. I also have never thought about it in the past. So, backstory. We were at work on, was at work on Monday. My whole team was together in the studio, and our manager was talking about how his daughter has got a birthday coming up and other birthday parties to go to. And they were talking about how they went to one birthday party, they brought the cake out, covered the cake in cling film, put the candles on top, blew the candles out, then lifted the cling film off so everyone else could have cake. And the very first thing I thought of was, eye roll, my God, you lot are taking this too seriously. And then I was like, you know what? Pre-COVID, if I was eating food and someone walked up to my food and just blew all over my food, there's a good chance I'm not eating that food anymore. Just think about it. You sat there at a restaurant, you're eating food, whether you know them or not. Obviously, if it's your partner or someone you're invested in like that, but just imagine someone like that and they just walk up to your stuff. You know how some people really go, and this is another thing, like some people really try to blow out them candles. So it's not just where it's just air coming out. They're giving you a saliva, spit, all that's coming out and just landing all over the cake. Pre-COVID, None of this ever entered my mind. If you blew on my food pre-COVID, I'm not eating it. If you blew your candles out on a cake, give me the corner piece of that cake. It looks tasty. I want as much icing as possible. So my manager mentioned it. And then I was listening to a podcast, the Joe Budden podcast, and they were talking about the whole blowing over candles. And then I seen something on Twitter, and I was like, yo, COVID has brought up one really good point. And like, there were some things I knew people weren't doing pre-COVID. Like, I knew people weren't washing their hands pre-COVID. Like, you see all the messages of people saying, wash your hands, wash your hands. You think to yourself, duh, that's common sense. No. The only times I've been into a public restroom and I've watched someone just walk directly out of the cubicle and straight out the door, or they walk from the urinal and head straight out the door, or you're on a night out and everyone's at the sink, so you can just see people walking in and then walking out, and you think to yourself, I did not see you at any point in any of these mirrors to come and wash your hands. And that's what COVID's done. And now I'm just like, yo, how much saliva have I eaten? And it's baffled me. It ruined cake for me. I don't know whose birthday's next, but there's no blowing candles out or we're doing the whole cling film thing. But just think about that. You're probably thinking, Miles, what are you on about? Just think about it. Pre-COVID, if you went to a birthday party, whether it was a child's birthday party, your friend, an elderly member, and they blew out the candles on the cake, I'm going to say 99.9% of people listening to this, so all 12 of you, would continue eating that cake. And hey, I'm not judging. I'm eating that cake as well. But now post-COVID, now that these things have been brought up to me, I don't know how I feel about seeing someone blow all over their cake and then trying to give me a slice of that cake that they've just blown all over. It's one of them ones. Anyway, let's move off the variant. I'm sure you've all had enough of that all week, and we're probably still going to get plenty more, whether you're trying to avoid it or not. America has Americaned again. America has Americaned again. That's the best way I can explain this next story. America has Americaned again. There's been another school shooting in Michigan. Now, when I read this story, it was three children were killed, a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 12-year-old, I believe. And 8 people were injured, 7 students, 1 teacher. I then saw something else that popped up. Michigan. Hold on. I then saw something else pop up to say 4 dead. Yeah, so I'm looking at the BBC News now. 22 hours ago. So the Michigan school shooting. So he's killed 4 and wounded 7. So a 15-year-old has killed 4 fellow students and injured 7 others, including a teacher, in a high school shooting in the US state of Michigan. These stories always baffle me because, again, we're in the UK. I don't know what school you went to or how dangerous the area of your school went into, but I can tell you this now. I went to school, and not once in my 5 years of high school did I ever think, yo, what if someone runs into school and starts shooting? Or what if one of my classmates just has enough, stands up, pulls something out of the bag, and then starts letting go on the whole class? That has never, ever crossed my mind. But being an American kid, especially if you're in a state where you've had a school shooting before, in the back of your head, every day you must walk to school and just think to yourself, I hope me and my friends just make this day. I hope we make it to the bell and we can all leave on time and go home to our families. Now, that isn't the maddest thing. The maddest thing I saw about all this is it was mad for 2 reasons, but again, it's not the first time I've seen this. So there has been instances before where there have been school shooters, an active school shooter in the school, and people have been recording on their phone. It baffles me. Like, your life is in danger. You're trapped in a room, a classroom, not knowing where to go. And at some point you think, Now again, some of you might be thinking, yeah, but Miles, they might be able to, I don't know how it's going to help. Like, if I'm pulling my phone out, I'm video calling SWAT. Like, hello, like, yo, SWAT, we're in this one. Come to this window here. I don't know where he is, but come to this window. Escort us out. We'll come out the window. You go in through the window. And then when he kicks off this door thinking it's students, light him up. That's just me. Again, I'm not gonna judge someone for being terrified and pulling their phone out. I'm just saying, I don't think if my life was on the line, then I'm in my lesson, I'm going to pull my phone out and jump on TikTok. But again, there you go. But But this person jumping on TikTok gave me a little insight into what some of these people are thinking. Now, in this video, this is one of the scariest things. So not the scariest thing is an active shooter being in your school. Okay, there you go. So there's an active shooter, 15-year-old running around the school with his dad's pistol. Talk about that a bit later. In this TikTok video, there's a bunch of kids in a classroom. It looks like they've barricaded the door, and you can hear someone talking outside the door. Now, the person outside the door is talking like he's police. You can't quite hear him loudly, but you can hear the kids replying to him, and you can hear the teacher replying to him. He says something, but when he's talking, he must say bro. And one of these kids picks up on it, and he goes, yo, he said bro, that's not a policeman. That's the shooter. They literally all panic. They move from the door. They open a window, and kids just start jumping out of the bottom floor window and just darting across this field. It looks like it's snowing as well. Just darting across a field in the snow, trying to avoid him. Now, imagine how... I don't want to badmouth someone. Imagine how sick. Fuck it. You just killed 4 people. Imagine how sick or twisted or whatever you must be in your head to not only go back to your school with a gun to kill fellow students, who I'm assuming a lot of the time, I don't think they target people. I think they just go back to school to exact their revenge and just take it out on the whole school. Could be wrong. He could have known who he could have had a specific 4 people he was aiming for, or well, he shot 12 people in total. 11, I can't do maths. He shot 11 people in total. Whether he was aiming for all 11 or if it was just this is it. It's going to happen right here. I don't know. But to have the sick thought to then lie and say, yo, I'm like, he's not angry. At some point, if he's angry, he's just going to start running around shooting. At some point, he must have had to have calmed down and been like, yo, maybe I can trick them, tell them I'm the police, and then when I open the door, they can continue. People like that, there's something wrong with it. But the one, again, it depends who you are to see if you see this as a positive. But the one positive I see of this is he didn't kill himself and the police didn't kill him. Didn't kill himself, police didn't kill him. He was arrested, taken into custody. I tried to find the charges that he was brought up on, but it was like he's got on terrorist charges, his murder charges, having a weapon. Like, this boy is facing charges, okay? A whole heap of charges. Again, they said no shots were fired during the arrest and the suspect was not injured. Police said, adding that he was carrying a semi-automatic handgun that still contains 7 rounds of ammunition at the time. This is fucking crazy. And then I saw something else that... Right, so the one thing I said, like, I saw something where it must have been on someone... I'm not on Snapchat, but it was on Twitter of someone screen grabbing a Snapchat. His Instagram page was full of demonic images. Now, just because someone's Instagram page is full of demonic images, I don't think that means that they're going to shoot up the school. Should they be put on a watch list? Maybe, yes. Like, if you're putting something that's outside of the normal, with no explanation, onto social media where everyone can see it, yes, maybe they should be, like, put on a watch list. Maybe teachers should spend an extra minute with them in class. Like, you okay? Are you sure you're okay? Something like that. The sick thing is he also had a countdown, which I think was on his story. I think he put up a story on Instagram and there was a countdown and it said something like, until the return of the devil. And that countdown ended when he started the school shooting, which... Again, there were people commenting saying, yo, how the fuck did they not see this coming? Teachers aren't on kids' Instagrams. If anything, it would have been the fellow kids that would have seen his Instagram and been like, yo, this shit's a bit... and spoke to him. I'm going to try and look at... Hold on. Let me go to the most recent one just to try and find out if they've got any... I don't think they've got any confirmation as to like what his motives were. Investigators reveal concerns about behavior of Michigan high school shooting suspect leading up to the tragedy. 2 teachers separately reported concerning behavior from the sophomore... not saying his name. In the days before the deadly school shooting, he's accused of committing... the deadly school shooting he's accused of committing. Prompting 2 meetings with him, including one with his parents, just hours before the massacre, a sheriff said Tuesday. Here you go. He was charged... he was charged as an adult. He's 15, but he was charged as an adult. It's not every day you see that, unless it's a black kid. But he was charged as an adult with terrorism, murder, and other counts in connection with Tuesday's shooting that left 4 students dead and 7 others injured at Oxford High School. The first behaviour report came Monday when a teacher in the classroom where he was a student saw and heard something that she felt was disturbing, and they had a counselling session about it with school officials, and a phone call was left with his parents. Here's why the school shooters... Oh. And then on Tuesday, hours before the shooting, a different teacher in a different classroom saw some behaviour that they felt was concerning, and they brought the child down to an office, had a meeting with school officials, called in the parents, and ultimately it was determined that he could go back to class. So, again, I can't put this on the teachers because I don't know the full extent of it. It sounds like the teachers did everything that they could, like they raised concerns. I think when it moves up from there, it sounds like it's out of the teacher's hands. But hours before the shooting, literally a teacher said they saw something with his behaviour and they felt it was concerning, and they brought the child down to an office. To me, that teacher ticked every fucking box. Well done. They had a meeting with school officials, they called in the parents, and ultimately it was determined that he could go back to class. Fuck me. Authorities say Crumbley soon opened fire outside a school bathroom. He moved through a hallway at a methodical pace, prosecutor said, shooting students in the hallways and classrooms before surrendering in what's become the deadliest shooting at a US K-12 school since 2018, and the 32nd on such a campus since August 1st. Fucking hell. I'm trying to look. Someone has declined to detail what the teacher's concerns were, adding that his department was never informed of either meeting prior to the shooting or that there were any behaviour concerns. When asked why Crumbley, the boy, was allowed back to return to class, someone said that will be part of the investigation in terms of what they thought and why they thought that was the right step. Cell phone videos refer to killing students. So again, yeah, I've spoken about this. Like he put a picture on his Instagram where he's holding a gun and he's there talking about the gun. Apparently it was his dad's gun, not his, but he was there bragging about it. After the school shooting, investigators found 2 videos on his phone made the night before in which he talked about shooting and killing students at the high school. Another piece of evidence investigators uncovered is a journal that was in his backpack that detailed the desire to shoot up that detailed his, and then this is a quote, desire to shoot up the school to include murdering students. The weapon authorities said we used shooting was a 9mm Sig Saucer. It's a semi-automatic pistol, which was purchased by his father 4 days before the shooting. Asked about the parents' knowledge of what their son was writing or recording before the shooting, we don't know any information that they knew that this was the path that he was headed, but that's a very much an active investigation. Again, it sounds like this kid was troubled, he needed help. Some of these teachers, at least one of these teachers, it appears was doing her job properly, their job properly. Unfortunately, she did her job properly. The rest of it couldn't have been done. Hey, if this kid's smart and they didn't check his phone, they didn't check his journal, they could have just said, yo, we're a bit concerned with all this. He knew he had a plan. Like, his plan was to shoot up the school that day. He could have just fronted and tried to make himself seem perfectly fine to get back into the school. Should they have checked his bag or checked what's in his person? Who knows? Moving forward, every single teacher, anytime someone's acting suspicious, let's go to this room, empty all your stuff just to make sure you've got nothing on you. Is everything okay? Rest in peace to the 4 people that lost their lives. Prayers and condolences to their families and friends. To that whole school. Listen, you never know how someone is feeling on the inside or what they are thinking or how they are going to act. I can't even say be nice. I don't even know if this kid was bullied. I've seen like comments of people saying he was weird, but I haven't seen anywhere to say he was overtly bullied. It'll probably come out that he was bullied. It's the only reason I can think of why he would take it out on the school, but fuck me, man. Another life lost to gun crime by a child. It's just kids killing kids. Kids killing kids at school. One of the place you think would be one of the safest places in the country. Like, yo, this is a building full of children. Surely I should be safe here. Surely, but unfortunately for those people, they were not. I spoke about this story, moving on. I spoke about this story a few weeks ago as well. Don't know if any of you remember. It was about the guy who was in Dubai and he'd been arrested in Dubai for having CBD oil in a vape. I agree with his mom. I'm going to read this story out. I'm going to agree with his mom. This is not good news. It's just news. It's slightly better news, but it's not good news. So Billy Hood, the Brit that was jailed in Dubai over CBD vape oil, has his sentence cut from 25 years to 10. As a British footballer coach handed a 25-year sentence in Dubai prison after being found with 4 bottles of CBD vape oil, has had his sentence reduced to 10 years after an appeal. He was arrested shortly after moving to the country in January this year after being found with 4 small bottles of CBD vape oil in his car. The liquid, which is legal in the UK, contains trace elements of THC, the psychoactive component of cannabis, which is illegal in the United Arab Emirates. This was the main part of the story for me. Authorities took a signed confession from the football coach, but the 24-year-old said he was coerced into agreeing to the document, which was also written in Arabic, a language he cannot speak, read, or write. As a result, he was charged with trafficking the oil and given a far harsher punishment than expected. But earlier this week, his case was brought in front of an Abu Dhabi appeal court, which recognised that he had unintentionally possessed the drugs but had no intent to supply them. His term was subsequently reduced by 15 years. Listen, it's one of them. To fly the bat for him, before I do devil's advocate, I don't even know how to do. Can you listen? I was with him at first. I was like, "Yo, it's not his. They're his friends." Bloody, because when I first read this story, he said they weren't his. Like the vape oils weren't his. Apparently, a friend had come over and a friend had left them, and that's that. So he hasn't denied knowing they were there. Apparently, he knew they were there, but they were his friends. Devil's advocate, if you're in Dubai, when you go to these countries, you know what countries are for play and what countries aren't for play. Dubai is one of those countries that aren't for play. I don't know whether or not he didn't know that the CBD oils and the vapes would be illegal, whether he thought he wasn't going to get caught. Yo, anything that is like that, anything that could be a drug, get rid of it. Get rid of it. Don't even get rid of it in a sly way where you're carrying it on your persons for trying to find the right spot. As soon as you see it, out the car, drive off. Down the drain, into a bin, across the street, onto a roof, anywhere that is not where you are, get rid of it. Simple as that. You can't play with drugs. And you can't play. Regardless of what the end of my statement is, you can't play in these foreign countries, especially when you're British. Just squirting my juice everywhere. Listen, I try and tell people all the time, look, people don't like the British, English. People don't like the English, but unfortunately the Scottish, the Welsh and the Irish, they all get wrapped up in the whole UK, Britain, British thing. So, it is what it is. People do not like the British at all, and rightly so. Like, if you look at Britain's history, I'm sure you all know about the British Empire, how it conquered what feels like 95% of the country, and then colonised it. We've all done history. We know why Britain isn't liked. It's the same reason why Britain always comes last in Eurovision. People do not care about Britain. They don't like us. Probably the reason why the EU's been so, yo, fuck yous, you don't want to be in the EU, fuck off. They don't like us. No one likes the English. Blame your ancestors, not mine. Mine were enslaved by yours. You know who you are. Blame your ancestors. Anyway, back to Billy. In his defense, yo, they ain't mine. I wasn't supplying them. I wasn't using, like, another thing, like, I feel like they should have been able to do a drug test. Do a drug test. You'll see I haven't got any of this shit in my system because I wasn't using it because they are not mine. And that shit should get stripped. Yo, Billy, you need to get bail. Someone somewhere needs to get this boy bail so we can get on the very next flight out of that country. Fuck that. A Dubai jail. I don't even know what happens in a Dubai jail. But no, I don't want to be locked up abroad. Especially in them kind of countries. No, nah. 10 years for something that allegedly isn't his. I need to say allegedly because for all I know, he could just be lying. He could be lying. He's been told that the charges have been dropped against him, and yet he is still there for another 10 years. Campaigners have welcomed the reduction, but claim there is still far too high, as they say there were no evidence of trafficking or selling. Chief executive of Detained in Dubai, a group which is lobbying for his release, said the UAE has just claimed they will eliminate prison sentences for foreigners found to be in possession of THC products, opting for the deportation instead. But this law does not come in effect until January 2022 and may not apply retroactively. So what they're saying is from January next year, if you're caught in possession of THC, only if you're caught in possession, so if you're caught in possession of it, instead of going to jail, you'll just be deported out of the country. Which, that seems like fair. Now, if you're trafficking, selling it in their country, yeah, you deserve to face the punishment of that country. But, and they're not going to retroactively apply. So it says may not, which means when January hits, he could be like, yo, I wasn't trafficking, I wasn't selling, I just had products. Release me from prison and just deport me back home. They might be able to say, no, you're staying there for the full 10 years. Which is shit. The conditions here are shocking. I still haven't got a mattress after 7 days of being moved in. I've got literally 15 or 20 seconds. It's going to cut out, he said. Oh, that was him on the phone. I was okay, that was him on the phone. We all love you and we're never going to give up on you, never ever. His mom says, we're all being punished every single day. We're doing life with him. The only thing he's in hell and we're not. He doesn't have a mattress. I told you, I bet you everyone else has got a mattress. It's just because he's English. Probably just think to him, fuck him, he can wait around for a bit, come to our country with his drugs. Free him if he's innocent. Billy, if you're innocent, friends, family of Billy, if he's as innocent as you guys are saying, free him. Free him up immediately. However, if he went over there and he decided to play, sorry to say, he's now found out that those countries are not for play. And this needs to be on the news. This needs to be national news across the UK. Across the whole UK. Because everyone's, especially over lockdown period, Dubai's been a hotspot for UK residents. Put this story on the front page of everything. Put it all over social media. Get this story out. Yo, if you come to this country to play, we are going to show you we do not play. And it's as simple as that. Simple as that. Like I said, I'm not accusing Billy of this. I'm just saying this is what these countries are saying. I'm not going to talk about this Ghislane. For anyone that hasn't been following the Ghislane Maxwell case, it's one, she's still alive. So if you don't know who Ghislane Maxwell is, she's the girlfriend / wife of Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was an American financier who turned out to be what was he accused of? Jeffrey Epstein was accused of like sex trafficking, underage girls, rape, sexual assault, all of that kind of nasty shit. Jeffrey Epstein was accused of that. He was arrested, but then he was found dead in his cell and the CCTV just happened to die on it. Why was that such a big thing? Because Jeffrey Epstein had a lot of rich and famous friends like Trump, like Prince Andrew, a lot of these big name people. So one of the conspiracies is a lot of people were involved in doing what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. So the reason they got him killed is because he knows too much. Okay? If it had ever got to court, he could have dropped names, organizations, just like what fucking... I don't know how you pronounce her name. I always thought it was Elaine, but Ghislane Maxwell. So Ghislane Maxwell, she's being accused of grooming underage girls for Jeffrey Epstein. So the much anticipated trial of Miss Maxwell is set to begin in New York today with opening statements setting the scene for what is expected to be a 6-week hearing at the imposing Thurgood Marshall U.S. Courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Oh, she's British, she's pleaded not guilty to all the charges against her, and she'll challenge claims that she groomed underage girls for convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Her defense team is expected to argue that some of her accusers are motivated by money. The daughter of a late media mogul, Robert Maxwell, faces up to 80 years in prison if she's found guilty. So the charges, they will allege that Maxwell was integral to Epstein's abuse of teenagers during the 1990s and early 2000s, and that she's sometimes participated in it. She's accused of luring victims with cash in exchange for sexualized massages in Florida, New York, New Mexico, and London. I'm not gonna fake show. Here we go. She faces 6 charges: conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. Conspiracy to transport minors with the intent to engage in a sexual criminal activity, transporting a minor with the intent to engage in sexual criminal activity, sex trafficking conspiracy, and sex trafficking of a minor. The fucking charges are fucking disgusting. Also, when I say conspiracy, Jeffrey Epstein did all this shit. Let me just get that out of the way. I'm not saying he didn't do it. He did it. The conspiracy is all the people that he did it with probably were involved in his murder to protect themselves, just in case anyone thinks I'm sticking up for him. Not in the slightest. The prosecutors are also expected to present a little black book of contacts, including names and phone numbers of alleged victims, and it's possible that they will present video footage from the extensive CCTV systems Epstein installed in his home. There is, she released something. Let me see if I can find it. Because apparently, Ghislane Maxwell released gave a bunch of names of people who she's saying were explicit in all of this. So I just want to try and see. What to know about the contact books that could be crucial in Ghislane Maxwell's case. I'm trying to see. Because there was a list of like famous people's names going around. So what is the little black book? According to court filings, the government first obtained the book from Alfredo Rodriguez, an employee of the Epstein's from the late 2004 to early 2005, who was attempting to sell the book to Brad Edwards, one of the lawyers suing Epstein in 2009 on behalf of the victims. Edwards notified the FBI, which set up a sting operation in which the 97-page contact book was given to an undercover agent for $50,000. Most of the contents of the... Hold on. But in a number 12 filing, federal prosecutors contended that the book contains compelling evidence of Maxwell's guilt. The filing alleges that the book includes dozens of pages of contacts, including family and friends of the defendant. Furthermore, the government alleges the book would show Maxwell kept contact information for relevant individuals at trial, including victims. Right, I'm going to be here all day if I try and sit through and try and find where she named all the people. Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Hollywood stars traveled on private jets, government says Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein funded. Right. Again, we'll pick up on this next week once they've got into that trial. But yo, lock them both. Well, Jeffrey was killed. But lock this bitch up, throw her under the jail. I don't do playing with children. Under the jail. Under the jail. Now, it's time for What's on the Box, the weekly segment where I talk about what new movies, shows, trailers I have watched this week. And I had an experience. So on Sunday, I went to watch the new Ghostbusters movie, Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's not a sequel to the all-female 2016 version. It's a sequel to the original two, the 1984 and 1989, I want to say. Original sequel with the Bill Murray and the men Ghostbusters that we know and love. This movie was fucking amazing. Spoilers, this movie was fucking amazing. Now, my opinion may be slightly skewed and biased purely because I went to watch this in 4DX and it's the first time I've ever gone to watch a movie in 4DX. If you don't know what 4DX is the cinema where the chair moves, vibrates, air gets shot at your feet, behind you, in front of you, water, wind, fans all on the ceiling. There are bright lights that go off for like lightning and electricity. It was an experience, and what a fucking experience it was. Don't know how I've never watched a movie in 4DX before. Especially Marvel. I've never watched a Marvel movie in 4DX. I want to watch all the Harry Potters in 4DX. Moving forward, I don't know if I will ever watch, or well, if it's not available in 4DX, I won't. But if there's a movie available in 4DX, especially Marvel, I don't think I'll be going to a normal cinema. And my friend who took me, Lydia, shout out you, that took me and Johnny to the cinema to watch this movie. She was on about how she went to watch A Quiet Place 2 in 4DX. And I was like, I would have cried and been excited all at the same time. But yeah, so let me read just a few minutes. I'm going to try not to go into the movie into too much detail and give it some spoilers. But yeah, 4DX made everything better. A few things that I picked up from this film. One, it does a great job at paying homage to the first movie, or first two movies. It doesn't overdo it. It doesn't spend the whole movie being an homage to the first one. It's just there are little bits sprinkled throughout the movie that are just like, oh, that's such a nice, it's a nice little touch to the original movies. But with that being said, if you've never seen the first two movies, it's a great standalone movie. Great standalone movie. Everything gets explained, not in an expository way, but it's explained in a good way. You understand what's happening. There would be certain bits you would see where you'd be like, but even then, they're explained in the movie. For example, spoilers, 3 of the 4 Ghostbusters all turn up at the end, obviously because the guy that played Egon Spengler died in 2014, I think they said, so he could have been it. But all 4 of them turn up, well, all 3 of them, sorry, turn up at the end of the movie to help fight the big bad. You would think to yourself, who are these guys? You see them earlier on in the film when the kids are learning about the original Ghostbusters and are watching, like, seeing YouTube footage from the 1984 ghost attack in Manhattan. So, as a sequel, they did a great job of making it a sequel. As a standalone film, they did a great job of making it a standalone film. The comedy's there. They've got right bits of horror throughout it. Just like, so, with the original Ghostbusters, it started scary. It put you on the edge of your seat, but then there was comedy throughout it. So there was scare. It was horror and comedy blended so perfectly into one film. Then the 2016 film came out, and it was just goofy. The best way I can explain it is it was just goofy. Everyone, the 5 main people in it, so I forgot all their names, but there's Melissa McCarthy, Chris Hemsworth, why have I forgot everyone's name? The all-female cast. Leslie, she's in it, sorry. But yeah, it was just a goofy movie. Everyone that's in there, they can act their asses off. But what I feel like they did is they just hired 4 comedy actresses or actors. They said to Melissa McCarthy, Melissa, riff. Just whenever you want to ad-lib, just riff along. Like there's a good 10 minutes of that film. There's a good 5 to 10 minutes of the all-female version where it's just Melissa McCarthy moaning about how she's only got one wonton in her wonton soup and how it takes so long for the delivery driver to get there when they're literally above him. Like, I don't care about any of that. I do not care. It's just, it's goofy. It's not funny. It's goofy. This movie is hilarious. And let me get the young girl's name, because the young girl that played Phoebe, who is Spengler's granddaughter, she stole the show. McKenna Grace, so she's called McKenna Grace. She played Phoebe. Listen, leading up to this film, everyone was on about Finn Wolfhard, who plays Will from Stranger Things. Like, oh, Will from Stranger Things is in it. Paul Rudd, the sexiest man alive, he's in it. Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, those guys are all coming back. They're going to be in it. No, Sigourney Weaver's in it, but you don't see that right till the end. No. McKenna Grace, Phoebe, excellent from start to finish. She's the stereotypical youngest sibling. She's the geek, she's the nerd, she's into her science, and she's really smart, so she struggles to make friends. She makes a friend like that as soon as she gets to this new school. Well, I don't say like that, but she makes a friend at the new school she gets to. She makes a friend with someone called Podcast. You never learn his name. Little Asian kid. He's like one of my favorite things of this movie. It's called Podcast because everything that he does, he just pulls out a little Rode mic and starts recording for his podcast. There's a nice little spin at the end when you find out that Dan Aykroyd Dan Aykroyd listens to his podcast and is his only subscriber, and they have a little thing there. It's great, but her acting is dope. The bad jokes, like throughout the film, she's telling bad jokes, and they're all really bad jokes, but they just make me chuckle. Every last one of them just made me chuckle. And something else that they did something that people just haven't been able to do, or I haven't seen anyone do it successfully. Yeah, I haven't seen anyone do it successfully in any movie. It's always the it's always terrible or horrible looking. And it's how they portrayed, I think his name is Harold Ramis. The guy that plays Egon Spengler in the original Ghostbusters, he died in 2014. So obviously he couldn't come back in this movie. I've already said spoilers once. He's a ghost in this movie. You could have seen that coming, but you could also not seen that coming. He's a ghost in this movie he's alive at the start of the movie as an old man, but they do very well at one, not making him talk, and two, casting him in a way where you can't see him. You basically see an outline, you see his grey hair, and that's all you see. And then right at the very end of the movie, his ghost form appears, and it's just so sweet because it's his ghost form that appears. So they get away with whatever CGI then digitalizing that they do to his face. He never talks. He never says a word. He just hugs his granddaughter. He hugs his daughter. He looks at the Ghostbusters, gives them a knowing nod. They give him a knowing nod back. It's just, if you haven't seen Ghostbusters Afterlife, I recommend going to watch it. Fantastic film. Absolutely fantastic film. What else have I watched this week? Hawkeye episode 3. I don't need to say anything apart from it's Wilson Fisk. It's Kingpin. Kingpin is the big bad. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I knew it, because I didn't know it. Some of the reviews that I was watching, they were guessing that the big bad for this could be Kingpin. But I was watching episode 3 yesterday. There was a scene where this big meaty white hand just comes into frame. And I was like, oh my God, it's Kingpin. And then you hear there's like a distinctive laugh. And that laugh sounds just like the Wilson Fisk from Netflix. Now, if they're going to do anything with those Marvel Netflix characters, Daredevil and Wilson Fisk, who's actually in that Daredevil, need to come over. That's all I have to say about that. They need to come over. I'm trying to find out what his name is. Vincent D'Onofrio? Vincent D'Onofrio. He's the one that plays Kingpin in the Netflix series, and he'll be the one that's going to play him. Fingers crossed it's him in the Hawkeye MCU movie anyway. But, like I said, that's enough of me talking now. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Miles High Club podcast. I've been your host, Miles. You've been listening. If you've made it this far, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Drop me a comment in there. Until the next time, peace.